Good to have with us today Tony Deaton of the group Covenant. Tony, how you doing?
I'm blessed. I hope you are.
I am as well. You're from up in the middle part of North Carolina. What constitutes the mid part of North Carolina? Where exactly are we talking about?
We call it the Triad, uh, pretty much Greensboro, Winston-Salem, High Point area, central, and we're just south of Greensboro, about 30 miles.
All right. Covenant, a new group, or I know they're new to us, so tell us about the group, its origin.
It's actually a merge of three different ministries. A group called Simeon's Promise, a soloist named Charles Scarlette, and of course me. I'm the manager of the group, and I've kind of went through several transitions over the last 10 years. Sang with my father, and my mother-in-law was the first group I was ever a part of, and we were together for about 12 years, and my father went on home to be with the Lord, and kind of opened the door for me to explore some different avenues. And I joined a couple of other groups through that time, and then ended up basically doing my own group. And that's kind of how it ended up. This group's been together, the members that are in it now, we've been together about 4 years. It has started, the original Covenant was me and two other ladies by the name of Teri and Tanya Robbins. And Tanya left the group a couple of years ago because she was in nursing school, and she just didn't have time to do both. So kind of left us without a member for a few weeks, and we prayed and sought the Lord's direction on it. And Charles Scarlette has been a soloist all his career since the late 80s. And he joined up with us for the first time he's been in a group. And he's just a fireball. And that's kind of led us to where we are today. And we've just finished our second album with Les Butler in Nashville, and just kind of really foundationally, it's just kind of become what it is at this point. So we're having a great time.
What convinced Charles to move from a soloist to a trio?
Actually, that's interesting because Charles and I met about 5 years ago, and I was pretty consistently inviting him. We do a lot of events that have several groups involved a lot of times. And Charles was always one of my first picks because if you've ever seen him, he actually won a television thing back in 2007 with Jason Crabb. It was kind of like an American Idol for gospel music, I guess you could say. He won that thing, and if you ever see him perform, you'll see just why he's been a soloist for so long. He's just got that thing, it draws people. You can hear him singing, and you're going to go where that is. It's just, he's got that thing about him. And so never really, it was kind of strange how it came about when Tanya left the group. I prayed about it, and it was like one morning the Lord woke me up about 2:30 in the morning and said, the person you need's right under your nose. And at that time, Charles was actually out at Creekside in Pigeon Forge, singing at that convention that they do out there annually. And I called him. In fact, when I called him that day, he was on stage singing, and his wife answered, and I told her kind of what I was thinking, and he called me right back. And he told me, he said, if I ever joined a group, it would be Covenant. So it was just meant to be.
Well, good. I'm glad things worked out then for Covenant. Is this your first, I know you mentioned you're doing work with Les Butler. Is this your first venture into expanding the ministry of Covenant?
It is. We reached out. I was actually talking with Zane King, is how I met Les. Zane and Donna, I don't know if you're probably familiar with them, but Donna, Teri, the lady that sings with this group, she had worked with Donna quite a bit in a couple of projects with the group that they had. And that's how I kind of came to meet Les. And Zane, I was talking with him because originally I wanted, Donna to produce vocals on our first album. And one thing led to another, and Zane just basically let me know. He's like, man, we've just got so much going on, with what we've got going on. We just don't have time to get in the studio right now. And that's when he introduced me to Les. And, when I met Les, we just connected, and we had a really good relationship and still do to this day. And he produced our first album, One Hope. And then when Charles he was actually on that album too. And then when we started searching for material for this album, it just kept going. And we, we're part of Family Music Group. We also have a media management team involved now out in Nashville with Scott Godsey and Godsey Media Management. Paul Secord, probably seen him on social media quite a bit, but he's helping us get our foundation in social media. So it's just like a lot happening at one time that it's just got us really excited.
Who writes your music?
We write about half of our music. We definitely could potentially put out a whole original album, but you know how that goes. A lot of people, if you're not just super known out there, and if you're not singing stuff or selling, as far as selling music, if you don't have something people know, they just tend not to buy it, And so we try to do about half original stuff. Teri and Charles and I, we all write music, and we've all got original stuff on the One Hope album. This one, I don't have anything that I've written on this particular project, but Charles has got a couple of originals on this one. Terry's got a couple of originals, and Dave Williford actually had most of a hand in the material on this album. He's got 3 songs, and we love his writing. And between One Hope and the Shine album, we came across Dave Williford, and he's just phenomenal. I mean, just a great writer. And in fact, he wrote The Living Christ, which is, our single release off of this album.
Well, that leads me right into the question in regards to The Living Christ, which is what acquainted me with Covenant. Got the email and watched the video. So tell me about The Living Christ and how Covenant cut it and released it.
Well, I got chill bumps just right now at that song. When I heard it, the timing was just ordained, and the single came out right at Easter, which was just perfect timing. We didn't plan that. It just happened that way. The Living Christ, when we got the material, actually there was another song on this album that Dave wrote called This Is Our God and Let Your Light So Shine. And those songs were actually, I heard those first. And but The Living Christ itself, once I heard that message, I never believed probably not the right word. I never anticipated it would turn out to what it is. I knew it was a great song, but once it came together, and that just proves to me a lot of times you can see God's hand, how he orchestrates things and how they turn out. You can't see the end from the beginning like he can, but man, it just turned out to be so much more. And then when we decided to hire a media management team, they just explored that and showed us what it could be, when we went into the video studio. And it just kind of turned out what you saw on the video, and we just have released that, and we're really proud of how that turned out.
Were you always planning to do video with the audio, or did that happen after the fact?
Well, we talked to them about that because, they kind of told us how all that works, and we weren't sure how that came together. And obviously you just overlay the original recording, but you got to go in there and you got to sing it 3 or 4 times, and they take multiple angles and multiple takes, and you singing it, but that's not what you hear. but it it turns out just fantastic. We couldn't have asked for better.
Where do you see the ministry of Covenant 5, 10, 15 years down the road?
We're not full time, what I would consider to be full time. There's no way we could do more when COVID-19 is not in play.
Mm-hmm.
This group we do anywhere from 150 to 180 dates a year. And I work a full-time job, and Charles works a full-time job. Teri's retired, and her husband, Moose, who's standing right behind my phone at this moment, he's our sound technician. And, they're retired, and his wife, Teri, the one that sings with us, she can put a lot more time into the PR work that we have to do. And I guess I said all that to say this: there's no way I could do more without going into what I would consider to be full-time ministry, which, to answer your question, that's where I want to be. I've always, I love my job, what I do. I'm in oil distribution, and I love the relationships that I've built there. I've been at this company for 15 years, and they've even asked me, because they know, the status with what we do, as a ministry. And my boss asked me, he said, "Do you see this taking you away from here?" And I said, "Well, I love the job, but if God opens that door, I won't hesitate."
Mm-hmm.
And, that's where I want to be. I'd love to be in full-time ministry. Whether that is going to happen or not, that's up to God.
Before I let you go, I want to let our viewers and listeners know where they can get more information on Covenant. So give me a website, Facebook page, and is that, I'm assuming, where they can go to get product as well?
Absolutely.
So where would that be?
Our web address is www.covenantgospelmusic.com. And same thing, if you type in Covenant Gospel Music on Facebook, you're going to see us staring at you. And all the product is on the website, obviously. There's links to all that on the Facebook page as well.
Now, I know the video is via YouTube. Do you have a YouTube channel?
We do. If you type in Covenant Gospel Music, it's kind of that's the phrase, But yeah, Covenant Gospel Music on YouTube. The channel has just been built, so there's not a lot of material on it yet. The Living Christ video is there. There's a short clip for a EPK on there right now, and some oddball organic stuff that we've been putting on. But that'll be being built daily, or at least weekly for now.
Tony Deaton of Covenant, some great music. Thanks so much for sharing with us, and we encourage our listeners and viewers to get to your website to check out the music.
Absolutely. I appreciate the interview, too.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
You too.
Bye-bye.